Alright, once again I would like to give all praises to Yahweh, Hashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakakodash, double honors unto the apostles of Great Millstone, salutations unto the hopefully elect. Alright, so I do not visual here through the spirit and power of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai. Dealing with this subject, the wicked one is fallen. Alright, the wicked one is fallen. So the first precept I'll be starting with is Isaiah 33 and verse 1. Alright. So let me show you a little video here concerning the Atlantic slave trade.
Historians estimate that between 1500 and 1870, more than 11 million men and women were carried across the Atlantic Ocean in ships like these. The passengers were forcibly transported from Africa to the West Indies, Brazil, or other lands of the Americas.
Brought, from ships from the land of so-called Africa.
These people were enslaved Africans, and their lives on board the slave ships were filled with pain, suffering, and death.
So,
in the 1500s, Europeans saw enslaved Africans as a source of inexpensive labor for their colonies. European planters established plantations or huge farms in North America, South America, and the Caribbean. As the plantations grew, more slaves were needed to work on them.
And when thou shalt make an end to deal treacherously, they shall deal treacherously with thee.
Slavery had existed in Africa since ancient times. Some African kings and merchants captured people and sold them as slaves to European traders, as well as to Arab merchants.
Alright, so jumping down to verse 6, it say, and wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times, and strength of salvation. The fear of Yahweh is his treasure.
The Europeans treated slaves like cargo. They were locked inside cells for weeks until ships could take them to colonies across the ocean.
Wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability at the time. So you have to have wisdom.
For slaves, life on a slave ship during the Middle Passage was a nightmare.
In order to be stable,
even crew members were shocked by the conditions in the slave holds.
Just say, woe to thee that spoilest, and thou was not spoiled, and dealest treacherously, and they dealt not treacherously with thee.
The Negroes are frequently packed so close together that they have not so much room as a man in his coffin.
Dealt with treacherously?
I was so overcome with the
murdered and killed,
dense and foul air that I nearly fainted.
Unlawful judgment, So a lot of things happened to us in slavery.
It was only with assistance I could get on.
Look at what's going on right now. You can't talk the truth because
Alexander Falconbridge.
YouTube want to ban your videos.
Although the transatlantic slave trade, the bringing of slaves from Africa to the Americas, was abolished by U.S. law in 1804, some traders chose to ignore the law. They continued to capture Africans and transport them across the Atlantic.
These devils, they're being offended of the truth. But the truth is, they are going into slavery.
On June 28, 1839, the Amistad set sail from Havana, Cuba, bound for the Cuban coastal town of Puerto Principe. On board, Captain Ramon Ferrer carried a cargo of 53 African slaves, purchased in Havana. An African on board the Amistad named Seneba Pie fought the men who tried to enslave him and other Africans.
Chapter 13 and verse 10.
One dark night, Seneba Pie, called Cinque by his captors, unlocked his shackles using pieces of metal he'd found on the ship. Working quickly, he freed the rest of the slaves, and they prepared to attack their captors.
Here is the patience and the faith of the saints. So if you put somebody in slavery, you're going to go in slavery. If you kill somebody with a sword, you're going to be killed with a sword. Alright? So the so-called white
The Africans took over the Amistad. The cabin steward translated the Africans' demand, sail the ship back to Africa, or the crew would be killed.
If you put somebody in slavery, alright, you're going to go in slavery. If you kill somebody with a sword,
instead of sailing for Africa, the currents of the Gulf Stream pulled the Amistad north. In the
eye
summer
for
of
eye and a tooth for a
1839,
tooth.
American newspapers
That is
along the
just
eastern
judgment.
seaboard
That is according
reported
to the
wild
laws.
stories of a ship
on-
manned by black pirates.
That
An
is in,
American ship called the Washington found the Amistad and captured it. The
on-
ship, including the Africans, was
on
taken into
just
custody.
balance is abomination or that law.
The Spanish government, which had colonized
Meaning
Cuba,
to say if you
demanded
have
that President Martin
4
Van
in
Buren
one
send
hand
the
and you
Africans
have
to
3
Cuba, where
on
they
the
would
other hand.
remain
That is an
slaves.
unjust balance. Alright?
But
you
former
need
President
4
John
and 4
Quincy
to make it a
Adams thought that the
balance.
slaves should remain free.
Alright? To make the
He
balance.
argued that
balance.
since they had been taken from
know?
Africa illegally, they were not then legally
So
slaves.
these
For
people
more
who
than a
put the
year,
Negroes,
Adams
Latinos,
fought
and
for the
natives in
Africans'
slavery.
release.
Alright?
On March 9,
They are going to be put into
1841,
slavery
the
too.
Supreme Court of the United States announced its
Next
decision.
scripture, Isaiah 14 and verse
It is the
21.
ultimate right of all human beings in extreme cases
Going to
to
the book of
resist
Isaiah,
oppression
chapter 14
and to apply
verse
force
21.
against ruinous injustice.
Seneba Pié
Isaiah
and the other
chapter 14
captives
and
were
verse
freed.
21.
The United
Prepare
States Supreme
slaughter
Court
for
had
his children
recognized these
for
Africans
the
as free
iniquity of their
human
fathers,
beings.
that they do not rise nor possess the land nor fill the faces
Although
of the
the
world
Atlantic slave
with
trade
cities.
came to an end
For
in the
I will
1800s,
rise
the
up
damage
against
had
them,
been
said
done.
Yahweh of
African
hosts,
societies
and
were
cut off
disrupted
from
by
Babylon the
depopulation
name,
and
and
warfare.
remnant, and
Some
son,
2
and
million
nephew,
people had
said
died
Yahweh.
on slave ships, and millions more had been forced
So
to
Yahweh
endure
is
a life of
against,
slavery.
alright? Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai is against America. They are against the society. They are against the satanic religion. Alright? Yahweh Bahashem,
Europeans
Yahweh Shai
first
is
brought African
against
slaves
the
to the
evils,
Americas to work
alright,
A,
of America,
as
which is
indentured
Babylon the Great.
servants,
And Yahweh Bahashem,
B,
Yahweh Shai,
on
alright,
plantations,
have proposed,
C,
alright,
merchant
destruction to
seamen,
America.
D,
Slavery for
for
all
low wages. What decision
so-called
did the Supreme
white
Court
race
make in the
and
case
all
of
the
the
nations
captives
of
on
the
board the Amistad?
You understand?
A, the court recognized
they are all
the
are going to
captives
go in
as free
slavery.
human beings.
They all
B.
going into slavery.
The court sent the captives back to Cuba. C, the court ended the slave trade. D,
It
the
says here,
court sentenced the captives to a prison term for mutiny.
verse
What
23.
were the causes
I
and
will,
effects of the Atlantic
I
slave
will
trade?
also make it a possession for the bittern and pools of water, and I will sweep. Alright. I will sweep it with the besom of destruction, said
Historians
Yahweh of
estimate
hosts.
that between
Yahweh of
1500
hosts had
and
sworn, saying,
1870,
surely
more than
as
11
I
million men
have
and
taught,
women were carried
so
across
shall
the
it come
Atlantic
to
Ocean
pass,
in ships
and
like
as
these.
I have
The
proposed,
passengers were forcibly
so shall it
transported from
stand.
Africa to the West Indies,
So Yahweh,
Brazil,
Bashem Yahweh
or
Shai,
other lands of the Americas.
said this is going to happen, and it's going to happen. Alright?
These people were enslaved Africans, and their lives on board the
Alright,
slave
so
ships were
Isaiah
filled
14
with
and verse
pain,
1 to 7.
suffering, and death. In the
Isaiah chapter
1500s,
14 and 1
Europeans
it
saw
say,
enslaved
For Yahweh
Africans as a source of
will
inexpensive
have mercy
labor
on
for their
Jacob,
colonies.
and will yet choose
European
Israel,
planters
and set
established
them in their
plantations
own
or
land.
huge farms in
And
North
the
America,
strangers shall
South
be
America,
joined with them,
and the Caribbean.
and they shall
As
cleave
the
to the house of
plantations
Jacob.
grew, more slaves were
So we're
needed
going
to
to go
work
back
on
into our
them.
own land. Yahweh will choose Israel again. Alright? And the people shall take
Slavery
them
had
and
existed
bring
in Africa since ancient times. Some African kings and merchants captured
Yeah,
people
to their
and sold them
place.
as slaves to European
and
traders,
the house of
as
Israel
well
shall
as to
possess
Arab
them
merchants.
in the land of Yahweh for servants and handmaids. And they shall
When the
take them
demand grew,
captives,
kings
whose
often
captives
sent their
they were,
warriors to attack neighboring
and shall
villages for slaves.
and they shall rule over their oppressors. So
The
this is going to happen
Europeans
to you
treated
white
slaves like
people, you white
cargo.
people who say,
They were
oh,
locked
those are
inside cells
grandfathers.
for
But guess
weeks
what?
until ships could take them
Alright,
to
somebody
colonies
had to pay
across
for
the
the
ocean.
iniquities of their fathers. And it says here, and it shall come to pass in the day that Yahweh
For
shall
slaves,
give thee
life on a
rest
slave
from
ship
thy
during
sorrow
the Middle
and
Passage
from
was a nightmare.
thy fear and from
Even
the
crew
hard
members were shocked by the
bondage
conditions in the
wherewith
slave
thou
holds.
was made to serve.
When I had to
Yeah,
enter the
because
slave deck, I was
it's
forced
hard.
to crawl
You know,
over the
you gotta get up
slaves.
every 7 o'clock every morning to go to work, and Boy, it's been hard. This is a
The
hard
Negroes are
road.
frequently packed so close together that they have not so much room
That
as
thou
a
shalt
man in
take
his
up
cloth.
this proverb against
I was
the
so
king of Babylon
overcome
and say,
with
how had the
heat,
oppressor
stench, and
seized
foul
the
air
gold
that I
and city
nearly
seized?
fainted.
Yahweh had broken the staff of the wicked and the
It was
scepter
only with
of
assistance
the
I
rulers.
could get on deck.
He who smote the people in wrath
Alexander
with a
Falconbridge.
continuous stroke, he that ruled the nation in
Although the
anger
transatlantic
is
slave
persecuted
trade, the bringing of
and
slaves
none
from
hindered.
Africa to
The
the
whole
Americas
earth is at
was
rest
abolished by
and is
U.S.
quiet.
law in 1804. Some
break
traders
forth
chose
into
to
singing.
ignore the law.
Yeah,
They continued
the fir
to capture
trees
Africans and
rejoice
transport
at
them
thee,
across the
and
Atlantic.
the cedars of Lebanon, saying, since thou art laid down, no fella
On June
is come up
28,
against us. So
1839,
even the whole
the
earth is
Amistad
going to
set
sing and
sail from Havana,
rejoice.
Cuba,
All right, when
bound
this
for the
wicked
Cuban
man
coastal
is
town
taken from
of Puerto
rulership.
Principe. On
The whole
board,
earth is
Captain
going to
Ramon
rejoice.
Ferrer carried a cargo
Kala
of
lale
53
hawa ba
African
shimi hao
slaves
shai.
purchased in Havana.
Verse
An
9,
African
hell
on
from
board the
beneath is
Amistad
moved
named
for thee
Seneba
to meet thee
Pie
at thy
fought the
coming.
men who tried
It
to
stirred
enslave
up
him and
the
other
dead for
Africans.
thee, even all
One
the
dark
chief
night,
ones of the earth.
Seneba Pie,
It had
called
raised up
Cinque by his
from
captors,
their
unlocked his
thrones
shackles using pieces of metal he'd found on the ship.
all
Working quickly, he
the
freed
kings
the
of the
rest of the
nations.
slaves, and they prepared to attack their captors.
So hey, this could be talking about volcanoes, you understand? And whatnot and what have you. Alright? All they shall speak and say unto thee, thou
The
art
Africans
thou
took over
also
the
become
Amistad.
weak as
The
we?
cabin
Art
steward
thou become
translated
like
the
unto
Africans'
us?
demand: sail the
Thy
ship back
pomp
to
is
Africa,
brought
or
down
the
to the
crew would be
grave,
killed.
and the noise of thy vials, the worm is the worm
Instead of sailing
is
for
spread under
Africa,
thee,
the currents of
and
the
the
Gulf
worms
Stream
cover thee.
pulled the Amistad
How
north.
art thou fallen
In the
from
summer
heaven,
of
O Lucifer, son
1839,
of the
American
morning? How
newspapers
art thou
along the
cut
eastern
down to the
seaboard
ground,
reported
which
wild
didst
stories
weaken
of
the
a ship
nations?
manned by black
So,
pirates.
alright, so let's talk about the Illuminati. The
An
head,
American
the
ship
heads in
called
in
the
that
Washington
religion.
found the Amistad
The
and
enlightened
captured
ones.
it. The
That
ship,
is why they could make
including the
movies and
Africans,
put
was taken
symbols
into
and things in it
custody.
and show you things what to come because they're planning out
The
everything.
Spanish government, which had colonized Cuba, demanded that
Say, for
President
thou hast
Martin
said
Van
in thine
Buren
heart,
send the
I will
Africans
ascend
to
into
Cuba,
heaven.
where they would
I will
remain
exalt my
slaves.
throne above the stars of Yahweh. I will
But
sit
former President
also
John Quincy
among
Adams thought that the slaves
the
should
monk
remain
of the
free.
congregation
He argued
in the
that
sides
since they
of
had
the
been
north.
taken from Africa illegally,
So that is why you see
they
the
were
building
not
these
then legally
national
slaves.
space stations
For more
and all
than a
these things.
year,
to go
Adams
and come
fought for the Africans'
you know?
release. On March 9, 1841,
Say,
the Supreme Court of the
14,
United
verse
States
14,
announced
I will
its decision.
ascend above the heights of the clouds.
It
I
is
will
the
be like the
ultimate
Most High.
right of all human
Say, yet
beings in
thou
extreme
shalt be
cases
brought
to
down
resist
to hell,
oppression,
to the sides of
and to
the pit.
apply force against ruins
All right.
and justice.
They that see thee shall narrowly look upon thee and consider thee, saying, is this the man
Seneba
that
Pie
made the
and the
earth
other
to
captives
tremble,
were freed.
that did us,
The United States
that
Supreme
did
Court
shake
had
the
recognized
kingdoms?
these Africans as
Alright.
free human beings.
that made the world as a wilderness and destroyed the cities thereof, that opened
Although
not
the Atlantic
houses
slave
of
trade came to
his
an end in
prisoners.
the 1800s, the damage had been done.
Alright, so Yahweh
African
Bashem
societies were
Yahushai
disrupted by
saying here
depopulation
that this
and
man is going to
warfare.
be taken out.
Some 2 million
Alright.
people had
The
died
so-called
on
white
slave
man is
ships,
gonna be
and
destroyed.
millions more had been forced to
Alright.
endure a life of
and,
slavery.
and the rest of his people, they're going to be taken and they're going to be slaves. They're going to be made servants. Alright? This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter
Europeans first brought
12
African
and verse
slaves
3.
to the
Say, but thou, O
Americas to
Yahweh,
work.
knowest
A, as
me,
indentured
thou
servants.
hast seen me and tried
B,
mine
on
heart
plantations.
toward thee. Pull them
C,
out like sheep for the
as
slaughter
merchant
and
seamen.
prepare them for the day of slaughter.
D, for low
How
wages.
long shall the land mourn and the
What
herbs of
decision
every
did the
field
Supreme
wither
Court
for the
make in the
wickedness
case of
of
the
them
captives on
that
board
dwell
the
therein?
Amistad?
The beasts are consumed,
A,
and the birds,
the
because
court
they said,
recognized the captives
he
as
shall
free
not see
human
our
beings.
last end.
B,
So this man
The court
is a
sent the
cancer on the
captives
earth,
back
and
to
Yahweh
Cuba.
Bashem Yahushai, alright, is
C,
going to take him out.
the court ended
Alright?
the slave trade.
Yahweh Bashem Yahushai
D,
is going to get
the
rid
court
of this
sentenced the
demon.
captives to a prison
Alright?
term for mutiny.
This
What were the
hell,
causes
this
and effects
Satan,
of the
man,
Atlantic
this
slave trade?
you understand? So, hey, this is the man who in control of the earth. Job chapter 9 and verse Job 9 and 24. Let me get out that precept real quick. Job 9 verse 24. The earth is given into the hands of the wicked. He covered the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he?
Historians estimate that between 1500 and
So the earth
1870,
is being
more than
ruled
11
by this
million men
demon,
and women were carried across the
so-called
Atlantic
white
Ocean
man.
in ships like
He
these.
covered the faces of the
Passengers were
judges, meaning the
forcibly
paint
transported
that
from
they say
Africa
God
to the
white,
West
the angels
Indies,
white, the Messiah
Brazil,
white, the
or
prophets
other
white,
lands of the Americas.
Adam and Eve white. This is what they're saying. But they cover
These
the faces
people
of the
were
judges.
enslaved
And the scripture
Africans,
said it is
and
given
their
into the hand
lives
of the
on
wicked.
board the slave
This is
ships
why
were
you see
filled
the
with pain,
animals going
suffering,
extinct.
and death.
Alright, they're cutting down, they're destroying the forests.
In the
They're
1500s,
spraying poison in
Europeans
the
saw
air.
enslaved
They're
Africans as a
poisoning
source
your
of
water that you have to
inexpensive
drink.
labor for
They're
their
putting poison
colonies.
into our children.
European planters
They're
established
brainwashing our
plantations
TV.
or huge
And this is why the
farms
world
in
is
North
in this,
America, South
state.
America, and the Caribbean. As the
Alright.
plantations grew,
So,
more
hey,
slaves
brother,
were needed to
sister,
work on
whoever
them.
listen to this video, I hope you was edified through the spirit and power of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. Alright, stay in tune with
Slavery
GMS
had
videos.
existed in Africa
Alright,
since
GMS
ancient
have
times.
the truth.
Some African
Shalom.
kings and merchants captured people and sold them as slaves to European traders, as well as to Arab merchants. When the demand grew, kings often sent their warriors to attack neighboring villages for slaves. The Europeans treated slaves like cargo. They were locked inside cells for weeks until ships could take them to colonies across the ocean.